Hey folks, it's early January and the excitement has already started building for the new gardening season. I am doing all kinds of things in my garden already. I'm cleaning up, I'm prepping the beds, I'm building soil, I'm making compost, and I'm starting seeds. And in today's video, I'm going to show you from start to finish all the things that I do to start my garden from seeds, keep the seedlings healthy, grow them successfully, and then transition them out into my garden. So this video is going to be jam-packed with all the tips that I've learned over the many years that I've been starting my garden completely from seed. So we'll first start with the setup. I'll show you my indoor grow station and the basics of what you need to get your seedlings growing indoors. We'll then talk about planting the seeds themselves, the seed starting mix and what properties are needed for a good seed starting mix, and then all of the paraphernalia that you need, the seed containers and the domes and the trays and all of that good stuff. And we'll also plant some seeds. And then we'll also talk about how to grow these seedlings, because what a lot of people say is, hey, I can get seeds to sprout, but then the seedlings died before I get them in my garden. What am I doing wrong? So let's talk about how to keep those seedlings healthy and thriving. We'll talk about watering, we'll talk about fertilization, we'll talk about pest and disease management, and then finally we'll also talk about some tips on how to transition your seedlings from indoors into your garden successfully, because if you make a mistake over there, all of that hard work, months of hard work, can all be for naught, and we don't want that to happen. So let's go first inside and I'll show you my indoor grow station. Okay, so this is my indoor grow tent. I also start seeds in my sunroom, but that setup is not ready yet. I've got a bunch of seedlings already started here. And basically, the main things that you need grow lights. So this is a Kelvin and lumen rating that I will put on the screen because I never remember what it needs to be, but it needs to be daylight and it should not generate heat, but it should be bright and it should be the color of daylight. And then you want a seed starting mat. Now, I know that a lot of people say that, hey, that's optional. And yeah, maybe it is optional, but a lot of seeds germinate just so much better above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So this helps keep it at that temperature, 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which a lot of seedlings love. And then you also want to make sure that you have got some kind of fan, because this place can get really hot and humid, and you want to make sure that the seedlings also move around a little bit just to simulate the outdoor conditions. And then finally, you do need something like a humidity dome. Now this really keeps the interior nice and warm and moist, which helps the seedlings germinate faster. I've got a video in which I've explained in detail all these things, and I will link to that. And I've also explained in that video how you automate your setup. I've got a thermostat and I've got the fan. All of these things come on automatically, and I will show you exactly how that happens. And oh, one more thing. I want you to make sure that you include this. This is a yellow sticky trap, and you can already see on it a bunch of fungus gnats. Yep, really important. Prevention is better than cure when it comes to fungus gnats, which are one of the biggest plagues of killing off indoor seedlings. All right, let's go back outside and we'll plant up some seeds. Okay, so the first thing that you need for starting seeds is obviously a seed starting mix. So I've got some seed starting mix here, and there are basically three ways that you can create seed starting mix. One is you can go to the store and you can buy yourself a bag of seed starting mix. Now that can be a little bit pricey. The other extreme is you can DIY your seed starting mix. Believe me, it is really easy to make your own seed starting mix. Let me just show you the two ingredients that you need in a seed starting mix. Okay, so before I show you the ingredients that you need, let's talk a little bit about the properties of a good seed starting mix. Number one, it needs to be light and airy. Little seeds need lightweight soil, and they need oxygen in the soil in order to be able to successfully sprout and grow. The second thing is it does need to have a little bit of moisture retention capability, because the seeds need to be moist until they germinate, and little seedlings will dry out quickly. The third thing is that it needs to be inert as much as possible if you're starting indoors, because diseases do tend to come from the outdoors. So I like to use a good inert seed starting mix. And speaking of inert soil, I do not like to add things like compost to my seed starting mix. Compost does tend to bring life to the soil, and with life, the good microbes also come some of the bad pathogens. And while the seedlings are growing indoors, I just want to keep it as clean as possible. Seedlings are very susceptible to pathogens, And if they are not in the outdoors where they've got the sun and other things that kill off these pathogens, they will tend to succumb very easily. So I try to keep my indoor seed growing environment as inert and as sterile as possible. Now I will fertilize my seedlings once every 2 weeks, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Okay, so here are the two ingredients that I typically use in my seed starting mixes. This is peat moss. You can also use Coco Coir, and it retains water really well, and it also is inert, so that's a good thing. And I also like to add vermiculite. Now, vermiculite is an extremely lightweight volcanic product, and it helps create that aeration in the soil. Peat moss does tend to kind of mat up if it doesn't have anything to break its texture, so vermiculite really helps with that. It's also extremely lightweight, and it does a little bit of water retention as well. So yeah, I add these 1:1. You can also add perlite, you can add compost if you choose, that's all up to you, but those are the basic ingredients that go into seed starting mix. Now if you look at this peat moss, you will observe that it's got things in it like twigs and little pieces of wood, etc. And so one very important thing that I do when I make my DIY seed starting mix is I will sift the peat moss to remove all of these bigger pieces from it, because those will come in the way of little seeds germinating. Now, if DIY is not quite your style, I'll give you yet another shortcut which will still save you money. It won't be as expensive as seed starting mix. Let me show you. This here is one of my favorite potting brand mixes. It's from ProMix. You can get the yellow bag, you can get the red bag, but basically the ingredients are pretty much the same, and it doesn't contain any material like compost, so it is very inert. And it contains some fertility as well. It's got some mycorrhizal fungi, some other stuff, wetting agent, etc. So you can take any potting mix, literally any organic potting mix, and you can sift it to remove, again, all of these big pieces, and you'll have a wonderful seed starting mix. So yeah, don't let them fool you into buying the expensive stuff. Now let me show you how I sift my seed starting mix. I've got a couple of options to share with you. When it comes to sifting your seed starting mix before you actually use it, you've got a couple of options. I've got this. This is a DIY that I've had for many, many years. You can see it's falling apart. It's basically some hardware cloth that I've stapled onto a frame. Or you can use something like this. This I actually recently got from Vego Garden because this one is on its last legs. It's a beautiful modular stainless steel sifter. It's a once-in-a-lifetime purchase, so it is really strong, and it actually comes apart so you can clean it if you need to, and it has got a 1/4-inch sieve, which will make the perfect size of crumb that is needed for your seed starting mix. So let's go ahead and sift that. You can see this is what we're left with, all these little twigs and bits that are too big for the seeds to be able to push through. And this is the beautiful seed starting mix. Now you want to moisten the seed starting mix right about when you're going to plant your seeds. You don't want to keep it moist, again, for the reason that moist soil does tend to come alive. And I am keeping aside a little bit of dry seed starting mix separately, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. And you want to moisten it till it is like crumbly brownie mix. When you squeeze it, you might be able to get just a little drop or two of water, then you know it's perfect. Let's talk about the kinds of containers that you want to use to start your seeds. So when I first started growing seeds, I basically scrounged around my kitchen. I found yogurt containers, I found takeout containers, all kinds of things. So you can start seeds in a variety of different containers. But over the course of the years, I realized that I needed to be a little bit more organized. I was starting a lot of seeds, and having containers that were different sizes were just not optimal for me to fit properly into my seed starting stations. And so I went out on Amazon and I purchased the cheapest seed starting containers that I could find. And I just want to show you what happens to them after about a year of usage. This one was sitting out in the sun. It has literally melted. I've got these 10-20 trays, and these are used to carry your seedlings around. I mean, this thing, it's falling apart and breaking, and even if it wasn't breaking, it's still so flimsy that I can't tell you how many times I've actually had seedling trays fall out of this one because the tray kind of tilted the wrong way. So yeah, these are like one-time use kinds of things. I actually do not like one-time use, so I would put these one into the other after the growing season was done. For the next growing season, I would take something like this and stick one into the other. It's just a mess, you guys, and I feel really guilty that I spent money. Even though I didn't spend very much money, I still spent money on this cheap plastic that is falling apart, one-time use, and I'm now going to have to throw it into the landfill. So then I started buying better quality seed trays, and I'll show you what a better quality seed tray looks like. These are some wonderful high quality seed starting trays that I got from Vego Garden. I love their products. They are really high quality products and they are very innovative as well. Let me show you some of the things that I really love about their seed starting trays. Now this is their jumbo size. There's also a little bit smaller size, but I wanted the bigger size and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But look at the quality of this, you guys. You can barely bend it. It is so strong. And each one comes with its own independent dome. So if I'm starting seeds and I want different types of seeds and some of them germinate faster than the others, you want to be able to remove the dome and let the seeds that have already germinated experience some nice fresh air. And you can remove the domes independently. Another thing that they have is the slit along the side. Now this is important if you want to keep the oxygen going in the soil, because like I said earlier, the seeds really require nice airy soil. So this is a wonderful addition. And look at the big size of the hole underneath. So when my seedlings are ready to go into the garden or into a larger pot, all I need to do is poke my finger up through this and the seedling and the plug of soil under it will come right up, and that makes transplanting so much safer for the seedling because it is hardly disturbed. So very innovative. And another thing that I really love about this dome is the watering feature. There's a little hole in the bottom that will allow it to drip water, and we'll talk about that in the ongoing maintenance when I talk about watering and fertilization. And yeah, the tray that comes at the bottom, it is so strong. So yeah, these are gonna last me a lifetime. In fact, I'm gonna try something with this to see how strong it really is. Let me show you. Okay, let's see whether these can handle my weight. Ta-da! Losing my balance here, but look how strong these are. I would not dare to even try this on some of my other seed trays, but look at this. It can handle my entire weight, and I'm not going to tell you how much I weigh. These are some solid seed starting cells. Okay folks, it's getting kind of dark, so I'm actually going to be pushing out the planting of the seedlings and the ongoing maintenance as well as the transition to the garden into a part 2 of this video. So I will actually link this video to part 2, so if you want to watch them back to back, you can do so. I hope you enjoyed part 1, and we'll meet again in part 2.